The first thing Armin Vale saw when he stepped out of the restaurant was not the bright noon sun, not the rows of parked cars shimmering in the heat, and not the red balloons tied near the entrance for some stranger's birthday party. It was a woman sitting on the curb beside a silver sedan, hiding her face in her hands while her shoulders shook like she had been carrying the whole world alone and had finally dropped it in the middle of a parking lot. He almost walked past her. Almost. But then she lifted her head, and he saw the name tag pinned to her faded blue uniform, the tired eyes, the trembling lips, and the kind of heartbreak that does not come from one bad moment, but from years of being made to feel small. When Armin softly asked if she was okay, the woman wiped her cheeks fast, as if tears were something she had no right to show in daylight. Then she whispered the words that would change both of their lives, "He saw my uniform and left." If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that one small act can save a broken heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Hub. Your support helps more stories like this reach people who still need hope. Armin had not planned to be anyone's hero that day. He had only come to meet a blind date arranged by his coworker, a woman named Maris who insisted he had spent too many years eating lunch alone and pretending work was enough. Armin was 34, quiet, careful, and the kind of man who smiled politely even when life disappointed him. He worked as a logistics manager at a medical supply company, which sounded impressive until people saw his small apartment, his old watch, and the lunch he packed every morning to save money. He knew what it felt like to be judged before being known. He had grown up in a neighborhood where people measured worth by shoes, cars, and the confidence money gave them. His father had cleaned offices at night, his mother had sewn curtains in their living room, and Armin had spent most of his childhood learning that dignity did not always wear expensive clothes. The restaurant was called the Olive Lantern, a bright little place near a shopping plaza, busy with lunch crowds and families escaping the heat. Armin arrived early because nervous people often do. He wore his only good button-down shirt, the pale green one his sister said made him look less tired. He checked his phone twice, reread the message from the woman he was supposed to meet, and waited near the front window. Her name was Saren Avil. She had written that she might be a few minutes late because her morning shift had run over. Armin did not mind. He ordered water, watched sunlight spill across the polished tables, and tried not to overthink what kind of woman would agree to meet someone like him. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. His phone buzzed once, but it was only Maris asking if everything was going well. Armin replied that he was still waiting. At the table across from him, a man in a sharp navy blazer looked impatiently toward the entrance, checked his reflection in his spoon, then stood when a woman walked in wearing a blue housekeeping uniform from the Hillcrest Hotel across the street. Armin noticed her because she paused at the doorway with a shy smile, smoothing down the front of her uniform like she hoped it looked presentable enough. She had dark hair tied back neatly, clean shoes worn at the edges, and a small paper bag in one hand, maybe holding something she had brought as a thoughtful gesture. The man in the blazer looked at her name tag. Saren. His expression changed so quickly that Armin felt it from across the room. The warmth vanished. His smile tightened. He said something too low to hear, but the woman's face fell as if he had slapped her without touching her. A few seconds later, the man walked past her, pushed through the glass door, and disappeared into the parking lot. Saren stood frozen by the entrance while the hostess pretended not to notice. Then Saren turned and followed him outside, not angry, not loud, just stunned. Armin sat there with his glass of water untouched. At first, he told himself it was none of his business. People had complicated lives. Maybe they knew each other. Maybe there was some misunderstanding. But 5 minutes later, when no one returned, something heavy settled in his chest. He paid for nothing but still left a tip beneath the glass, then walked outside into the blazing afternoon. That was when he found her crying by the car. Saren tried to stand when she saw him, embarrassed by her own pain. She apologized, even though she had done nothing wrong. Armin asked gently if she needed help, and she shook her head with the exhausted pride of someone used to helping everyone else. Then the words came out. He saw my uniform and left. She explained that the man was not even her real date, not exactly. They had been matched by a dating app. He had chosen the restaurant. She had told him she worked nearby but had not said she was coming straight from a housekeeping shift because she did not think a uniform should be something to confess. The moment he saw it, he laughed under his breath and asked if she was serious. Then he told her he did not date women who cleaned up after people for a living. Armin felt heat rise in his face, not from the sun but from anger. He looked toward the road, where the man's expensive car was already gone. Saren hugged the paper bag to her chest and said she had brought homemade lemon biscuits because his profile mentioned he liked them. That detail nearly broke Armin. Not the insult. Not the abandonment. The biscuits.